Luke chapter 21 and verse 34. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your heart be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that they come upon you unawares. For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. I want to give all praises and glory to Yahawah, SHAM, Yahawashi, and peace and blessings to you brothers and sisters throughout the four corners of the earth that are waiting on Yahawashi. This is Hawayaahla, just kind of going into a lesson just concerning just how, we should basically be carrying ourselves in these last days. And basically, this main thing is just really taking heed to ourselves, all right, and basically how we're behaving and what we're doing. So kind of just going further on into, Ephesians. This is Ephesians chapter 2, starting at the top. And you hath he quickened who were dead in trespasses and sins. All right, because before we came into, our encounter with, Yahawashi, who the Father has to actually draw, a man unto his son, in order to basically, be in this thing. We were at that time really dead in our trespasses and our sins, which basically we were committing, at that time. All right. Now, when we go further on, it says, wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of this world. Right. So basically at that point, once you were quickened, that means there should have been a change, meaning that in time past you walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. Okay, so those who are in the disobedient spirit are going to walk according to the course of this world, which includes many of the things of the lust of the flesh. Okay, because if there's been a quickening, there should be a change, in a person that would basically push them away from doing those things. Okay, it says in verse 3, among whom also we have all had our conversation, which is our behavior, in times past in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. Okay, so that's the others is talking about those who are still, in the world or still walking in that course of disobedience. So when you go through these different, letters, you realize that there's certain behaviors that those that believe on Yahawashi should not be exhibiting. There should be basically a sanctification or a turn away process that's really showing, someone's behavior, and basically getting involved in, drunkenness and, basically things that are according to the flesh are things that should be put off away. That should have been the old man. That's why it says in time past, your past conversation, meaning your old man. All right. That was walking in disobedience, because that's really what disobedience is. Being a children of disobedience is basically walking according to the flesh and not according to the spirit. All right. Now going into 1 Peter chapter 4, starting at the top. For as much then as Mashiach had suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. For he that hath suffered in the flesh had ceased from sin. So arming yourself in the same mind is meaning not going into wanting to cater to the flesh. That old man should be dying daily, and the inward man should be basically growing more and more. Okay, right? Verse 2. That he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lust of men, but to the will of Yahawah. All right, so there's a change now. The will in which you're living is towards, Yahawah Ba'Shem Yahawashi, and that's basically the will of the Father was for us to walk in righteousness, which is the beginning of that is coming into basically belief in his son. All right, and then that actually starting to change the way that we live. All right, we become more of a reflection of Yahawashi. All right, because he is dwelling inside of us. All right, now going into verse 3, it says, for the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles. All right, so there's a comma, the will of the Gentiles, and it's going to break it down. When we walked in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, all right, which these are all big problems. All right, and these are things that we should be putting away. All right, we should be putting away. That should not be something. You should not basically put yourself more and more in catering to the flesh, the spirit is what you should be going into, basically, which is walking in righteousness and holiness, which this is the reason why it points it out that the will of the Gentiles, meaning the will of the actual heathen, is to do these things. And that's the reason why the Most High gave our nation laws, statutes, and commandments to go by, but ultimately now has given us the spirit that we may be able to walk according to righteousness and be a more of a reflection of the image of his son. And that's basically ultimately the goal that he is going to push, especially his elect, towards, is becoming more and more likened unto that. Okay. So it says further on, when we walked in lasciviousness, lust, okay, excess of wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries, wherein they think it strange that ye run not with them to the same excess of riot, speaking evil of you. And that's the reason why those that are in the contrary spirit, that are not following in the will of Yahawashi, they revile and go up against, men and women who are wanting to walk towards righteousness. And they find it strange that you don't want to do the same thing and fall into that lane of walking according to the flesh and walking according to being a flat out hypocrite and not really walking according to what is written according to the scriptures. It says further on, verse 5, who shall give account to him that is ready to judge the quick of the dead. So ultimately, they're not going to give account to those men, right, that are walking in the will of Yahawah. They're going to eventually have to answer to Yahawah in the day of judgment. Okay, because we're just bringing this out as vessels to ensure that brothers understand, how they ought to walk. Okay, now this is Luke chapter 12 and verse 45. And if that servant say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to beat the men servants and the maidens, and to eat and drink and be drunken, which that's happening right now. This is the type of behavior that's happening. That's the reason why Yahawashi made these different parables, because it was going to be made manifest that this is the type of stuff that would be going on. Verse 46, the Lord of that servants will come on the day when he looketh not for him, and at an hour when he is not aware, and will cut him asunder, and will appoint his portion with the non-believers. So them same people that Jake is out there going up against and condemning and saying that they're going to be destroyed if they don't wake up, he's going to still, those same men that are being wicked servants, that are not coming out of those ways, which is the will of the Gentiles, all right, the catering to the flesh, he's going to appoint them their portion with the non-believers, because really they were really still heathen. Because if you're working in the will of the Gentiles, all right, which is the will of the heathen, you are actually really still a heathen, all right, in your heart, in your mind, okay? And that servant which knew his Lord's will and prepared not himself, neither did according to his will, shall be beaten with many stripes. But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes, all right, which is basically the portion of these non-believers that don't believe, that are not in this faith, that are not calling and believing upon, the one true son, that Yahweh Bashem Yashai, and don't maybe know who they are, that they're Israelites, they shall be beaten with few stripes. For unto whomsoever much is given, all right, which is this knowledge, even the small bit of it, of him shall be much required. And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more. So the Most High is gonna, eventually bring that judgment. All right, and that's the reason why a lot of times, and especially in this last times, as prophecies unfold and as things are going closer and closer towards the end, as we see the day of the Lord approaching, we have to be examining our behavior, all right, lest our portion gets appointed with the non-believers. Ephesians 5 and 15. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is, all right? Which the will of the Lord, going back, was for us to walk in righteousness and to basically go and continue to put the deeds of the flesh, away, and continue to grow more and more in the spirit. And be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess. Okay, so that's another warning that's coming. Be not drunk with wine wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit. So you should be actually wanting to take in things that are spiritual, all right, more than taking in things of the flesh, which is basically going around and getting drunk or wasted in the mind. Okay, that's some stuff that you see, that's some stuff that, as it said in the scriptures, that's the will of the Gentiles. All right, but the will of the Father is for you to be filled with the Spirit, speaking to yourself in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. And so that verse is really just saying, keeping it spiritual, filling yourselves with those things, keep staying spiritual, putting your mind and meditating upon, the things that are of the Spirit and not of the flesh, giving thanks always for all things unto God, all right, Yahawah and the Father, in the name of our Lord Yahawashi, submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of Yahawah. All right, so hopefully this is edifying. And as you see, man, we're supposed to come out of the ways, all right, which is basically the ways of the Gentiles, and supposed to come into righteousness of Yahawah B'Hashem Yahawashi. So again, all praises and glory goes to Yahawah B'Hashem Yahawashi, and peace and blessings to you brothers and sisters throughout the four corners of the earth, and all to you sincere brothers that are out there, pushing the word, rightly dividing it. Shalom.